Hello everyone, I am Shadash and welcome to Sudha Learning Hub. Today's session we are going to learn the most important Java interview questions. Question number 1. Is it compulsory for a try block to be followed by a catch block in Java for exception handling? Try block needs to be followed by either catch block or finally block or both. Any exception thrown from try block needs to be either caught in the catch block or else any specific task to be performed before code abortion or put it to the finally block. See here, a try block needs to be followed by either catch block or it may be a finally block or both. It's a compulsory for the try block is followed by the catch block or finally block. The next question, is there any way to skip finally block of exception even if some exception occurs in the exception block? If an exception is raised in the try block, control pass to the catch block if it exists, otherwise finally block. Finally block is always executed when an exception occurs, and the only way to avoid the execution of any statements in finally block is by aborting the code forcibly by writing following the line of codes at the end of the try block. That is the system.exist. The system.exist way to skip the finally block of an exception even if some exception occurred in the exception block. So system.exist of 0 is the way to skip the finally block of an exception even if some exception occurred in the exception block. Next question is, how can an exception be thrown manually by the programmer? In order to throw an exception in a block of code manually, throw keyword is used. Then this exception is caught and handled in the catch block. For example, if you see, I am created one class that is called, I am created one method here that is the top method, and the one more method is the execute method. In this execute method, I am throwing an exception. This is a manual exception. I am created the custom exception. Whatever the exception is raised here, I am throwing this exception to that particular class. The next question is, what happens if an exception is not handled in the program? If an exception is not handled in the program using try catch blocks, program gets aborted and no statement executes after the statements which cause exception throwing. If you don't want to handle the exception in our program, if an exception is not handled the program using the try catch blocks, program get aborted and no statement executes after the statements which caused exception throwing. The next question is, what is the difference between error and exception? An error is an irrecoverable conditions occurring at a runtime, such as out of memory error. These JVM errors and you cannot repair them at runtime. While exceptions are conditions that occurs become because of bad input, etc. For example, file not found exception will be thrown if the specified file doesn't exist, or null pointer exception will be takes place if you try using a null references. In the most of the cases, it is possible to recover from an exception properly by giving user a feedback or entering proper values, etc. Here, exception can be recovered. Error cannot be recovered. If you coming to the exception, exception can be classified into the two types. One is checked exceptions and another one is unchecked exceptions. If coming to the error, there is no such classification for errors. Errors are always unchecked. In the in case of checked exception, compiler will have a knowledge of checked exceptions and force to keep try catch blocks. In case of errors, compiler won't have a knowledge of an errors. The next question is how to create the custom exceptions. Your class should extend class exception or some more specific type thereof. First, we can create our custom exception by using extending from exception class. The next question is if I want an object of my class to be thrown as an exception object, what should I do? The class should extend from an exception class, or you can extend your class from some more precise exception type also. If you want an object of my class to be thrown an exception object, you can extend from exception class, or you can extend your class from some more precise exception type also. The next question is if my class already extends from some other classes, what should I do if I want an instance of my class to be thrown as an exception object? One cannot do anything in this scenario because Java doesn't allow the multiple inheritance and does not provide any exception interface as well. See here, my class is already extended from some other class. Means already you are extended some other class. It's not possible to extend one more class. It's not possible to extend multiple classes at a time. Why? Because Java doesn't support the multiple inheritance. That's why, because Java doesn't allow the multiple inheritance and does not provide any exception interface as well. The next question is how does an exception permeate though the code? An unhandled exception smooths up the method stack in search of the matching when an exception is thrown from a code which is wrapped in try blocks followed by one or more catch blocks. A search is made for matching a catch block. If a matching type is found, then that block will be invoked. If a matching type is not found, then the exception moves up the method stack and reaches the caller method. Some procedure is repeated if the caller method is included in the try catch blocks. This process continues until the catch block handles the appropriate type of an exception is found. If it doesn't, if does not find such a block type finally, then the program is terminates. How does an exception permeate through the code? An unhandled exception moves up the method stack is search of a matching when an exception is thrown from code which is wrapped is try block followed by one or more catch blocks. A search is made for matching a catch block. If a matching type is found, then that block will be invoked. If a matching type is not found, then the exception move up to the method stack and reaches to caller method. Some procedure is repeated if the caller method is included in the try catch blocks. This process continues until a catch block handles the appropriate type of exception is found. If it does not find such blocks, then finally the program is terminates. Next question is what are the different ways to handle the exception? There are the two ways to handle the exception. The first one is by wrapping the desired code in a try block followed by the catch block to catch the exception. The second one is list the desired exceptions in the throws class of the method and let the caller of the method handles those exceptions. There is a two ways to handle the exception by using the try block, try catch blocks, and another one more is by using throws keyword.
Thank you so much watching this video. Hope this lesson helpful to you. Keep watching our lessons. Keep writing to us. Do not forget subscribe our channel Learning Hub because we have many sessions that would help you to develop our skills, and I will be back soon. Till then, you take care. Bye bye.